Today's story is Garfield's Scary Tales. A ghost story. John Arbuckle zipped off his backpack. "This looks like a nice spot," he said to Garfield and Odie. "We'll camp here tonight." "We're going to stay here?" asked Garfield. He gazed around the small clearing hemmed in by huge pine trees. "Where's the bed? Where's the refrigerator? Better yet, where's the nearest motel?" John sat on a log and took a deep breath. "Don't you love the outdoors?" "Ruff, ruff," barked Odie. "Sure you love it," Garfield said. "Look at all the trees. This is doggy heaven. But just wait till some bear makes you his midnight snack." "Yep," replied Odie, glancing nervously into the woods. "Time to set up camp," said John. Each one had a job to do. Odie chased its tail, Garfield complained, and John pitched a tent and started a fire. When John was finished, they all sat down around the fire. Garfield's eyes began to water. So did John's. Odie started to cough. In a moment they were all coughing. "Maybe this fire should be outside the tent," suggested John. That worked much better. In a short time, the sun disappeared behind the tall pines, and the moon rose. John cooked dinner. Garfield made a face at the food and ate only 2 helpings of everything. Afterward, John leaned back and patted his full tummy. There's nothing like eating hot dogs on a stick and beans out of a can," he declared. "Yeah," said Garfield. "It's right up there with pond scum and dirty socks." "Do you know what we need now?" John asked. "Immediate rescue?" said Garfield. "We need a good, scary story. How about this?" said John. "It was a dark, dark night in the deep, deep woods." "That sounds familiar," observed Garfield, looking around. 3 campers sat around a crackly campfire. Somewhere in the forest, an owl hooted. Just then, somewhere in the forest, an owl did hoot. The 3 campers sensed that they were not alone, continued John. Suddenly, they heard a twig snap. Suddenly, a twig did snap. "Yipes!" cried Garfield, John and Odie clinging to each other. There at the edge of the firelight stood a huge furry creature grasping an enormous gleaming axe. "Evening, campus," growled the figure, stepping closer. It was a bushy bearded man in a bearskin jacket. "Saw your fire," said the man. "Thought you might like some company." Sure," stammered John. "Be our guest." The man sat cross-legged on the ground, the axe resting on his knees, flames glinting off the polished razor-sharp blade. He stared at the campers. We're telling scary stories," said John. "And it worked because we got scared with a little help from you." John laughed nervously, but the stranger didn't crack a smile. "I know a scary story," the stranger offered, leaning forward. "It's about these here woods. See, once a long, long time ago, there was a woodsman in hereabouts named Zeb. He was a big man, always carried a big axe like this one," he said, patting the handle of his axe. Garfield's hair stood on end. "He was mean, too. Even the bears were afraid of him. He felt these woods were his own private property, and if he caught anybody, like campers trespassing in them, well, he put that axe to no good use, if you get my drift." "I get it," squeaked John, beginning to sweat. "One day Zeb is tromping through the woods," the stranger continued, "when he hears the singing. Well, you know how Zeb feels about people trespassing in his woods, so he sharpens his axe with a stone, then creeps without a sound toward the singing. But when he peeks out, he sees this woman beside a brook singing to the water. She's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. And just like that, The stranger snapped his fingers. Me and old Zeb falls in love. He wants to talk to this woman, hold her hand, look her into her eyes. So he steps out of the trees. The second this woman spots him, all big and ugly, carrying that axe, she bolts. Zeb chases her mile after mile through these woods, trying to convince her that he means no harm. Finally, he comes to the edge of a cliff high above the lake. The woman is nowhere in sight. She's not on the rocks. No telltale ripples in the lake. She's just disappeared. This is worse than one of John's dates, thought Garfield. Old Zeb went crazy, cut down every living thing in his path, looking for that woman. He haunted her till his dying day. They say he still haunts these woods, carrying that huge axe. The stranger began tapping his axe on his enormous palm, searching, but never finding her. So he just gets meaner and meaner and angrier and angrier. And if he ever meets anyone in these woods, why he... Garfield, John, and Odie didn't wait to hear the end of the story. They went running away through the woods just as fast as the trembling legs would carry them. The stranger watched them go. Then he set his axe on the ground and picked up John's backpack. Soon he was stretched out by the fire, eating hot dogs and beans. Zeb, he said to himself. One of these days, campers will stop believing that silly story. But until then, it's sure loads of fun.